The southeast may have been spared the worst of Cyclone Alfred, but the emergency isn't over yet. The Category 1 system hit the Moreton Bay Islands in the early hours of the morning before it weakened to a tropical low and then stalled off the coast. Powerful wind gusts were recorded at the Gold Coast, Brisbane and Redcliffe, downing power lines and sending trees crashing into homes. 300,000 properties lost power, the state's worst ever blackout from a natural disaster. The slow-moving system threatens to dump rain across a vast region, and authorities are concerned flooding could pose a risk to lives and homes in 2 states.
Ferocious winds ripping through the dead of night. Strong enough to tear the roof off this Gold Coast apartment block, police rushed to evacuate 15 terrified residents.
The entire roof structure's been compromised. We need to get you guys out of here.
Thousands spent an anxious, sleepless night as the deafening roar of tropical Cyclone Alfred took over.
And if the Premier's maybe just aware that there is a little...
The system howled for hours, rattling windows and testing infrastructure.
I reckon I could feel the building moving last night. We're on the 12th floor, which is not really high compared to some of these places, but yeah, it was enough to keep me awake, that's for sure.
We're all cooped up in one room, just looking out the window going, is this going to destroy the house or what?
As dawn finally arrived, residents emerged to survey the damage. Iconic Gold Coast beaches gutted. At nearby Ashmore, the Deshpande family awoke to destruction. A giant gum crashed through the middle of their home.
Basically, the living room is destroyed. Both the side walls, roof has come down. The skylight from the kitchen has gone, so there's flooding inside now.
A moment of terror while desperately searching for loved ones.
Like when I saw the roof fall, the first thing me and my older daughter, she's 18, we both screamed was, is there anyone in there? Is there anyone behind there?
Miraculously, no one was injured, but they'll likely be displaced for months.
We're just going to stay with some friends for the night and then we'll look for some accommodation.
Scott George is counting himself lucky. He watched as this massive tree uprooted and fortunately fell away from his home.
If it had come down the house, it would have destroyed it and, probably could have killed the family. So, yeah, very grateful it went the other way. But also that it didn't hit anyone on the road.
The community's resilience has earned praise.
Many with no power, wind and rain, and yet they did exactly what was needed.
At the worst of times, we are seeing once again the best of the Australian character.
Cyclone Alfred crossed Moreton Island in the early hours of the morning as a Category 1 system. Residents in its direct path had a long night.
The wind, it was just howling the whole time. Like the trees brushing, the bamboo behind me was hitting the windows.
The cyclone then ran out of steam and stalled over Bribie Island.
At 6 a.m. this morning was downgraded below tropical cyclone strength.
On the mainland, trees not suited to cyclonic weather were toppled. Residents at Redcliffe, north of Brisbane, grateful things were not worse.
We've had lots of time to prep, we've had lots of time to think about it.
I think we slept through it, pretty much, so it wasn't too bad, to be honest.
As the ex-tropical cyclone moves inland, heavy rain is the main concern. With catchments already swollen, there's a risk of sudden rises.
This flash flooding could pose a significant risk to life.
Trees have brought down power lines all across the southeast, creating the worst outage the state has seen in over a decade. Nearly 300,000 people were cut off. Authorities say restoring it remains a top priority, warning it could be some time before the network is revived. With some households now enduring power outages, the community is pulling together. This Good Samaritan taking food to an elderly neighbour.
Of course, there's no electricity, so we have to look after each other.
Others are ready for a deluge.
We've topped the bottom floor, sandbagged it, so hopefully nothing goes too bad. Tried to empty the pool, but we couldn't.
I've never been more prepared. Yeah. Pretty well prepared.
Prepared but hopeful they'll be spared this time. Laura Lavelle, ABC News, Brisbane.
Christopher Foley joins us now. Premier, appreciate your time. The sheer number of power outages is extraordinary. How long should people expect to be in the dark?
It'll take some time, Jess, but we're certainly throwing everything at it. We'd pre-positioned 1,200 Energex staff and there's 800 Ergon staff from the other end of the state who've come to help. So you're right, in terms of raw numbers, it reached 330,000 homes and businesses without power. So in raw numbers, that's worse than anything we've experienced before. So they've reconnected about 90,000 during the course of that. But, you know, when you look at a figure still tonight, somewhere in the order of 250,000 households and businesses without power, that's a lot of people who've been impacted, that's for sure.
But it could be days?
In the last couple of hours, there have been quite a few thousand people brought on, so they are still working and they're cracking at it. And look, they've done a lot of work today, including pre-positioning people onto many of the islands where we even had generators there to be able to get that over the line. But yeah, no, it'll definitely take some days. But look, they really do mighty work, and I saw it at the other end of the state only a month ago, where a substation was inundated, and within 24 hours they had that back online in Ingham. That's the quickest that's ever been done. So sadly, because of practice, they're getting good at it, but there's no doubt we are throwing everything to try and get life back to normal.
Premier, supermarkets, airports, bus services, they're all looking back at getting back to regular business from tomorrow, but there are also flood warnings. Just how real is the concern about flooding?
Look, it remains a real prospect, and the Bureau say to us that there is a chance of more rain in the next 24 to 48 hours. Look, my advice to people is always stay engaged, stay connected, but make sure that you can use common sense and get on with life. And wherever possible, that's been what we've tried to do throughout this disaster, is give people the information, and overwhelmingly people make the right choice when you do. So it is important that we keep a really tight eye on it, because there is the prospect of some big falls. But as we can, we bring life back to normal. And exactly what you said, those things are key parts of people's lives, as is trying to get kids back to school as quickly as you possibly can, as is making sure that our hospitals can go back to doing elective surgeries. All those things, they're just so important, and we're doing everything we can to get life back to normal.
So kids back to school on Monday?
Well, we'll make that decision tomorrow, and as we've always done that the day before, so that parents can plan, so that businesses know if they've got staff, and that's really important. But I can tell you, my going in position is, if it's humanly possible and at all safe, that school will be opened. And what we've done is we've made sure that all that's been visible on a school closures website, but we will be doing everything we can to get schools open on Monday, hospitals back to flowing the way that they need to be. We need public transport up and running. All the things that go to about your daily life is so important. And if you couple that with the work that the telcos are doing to try and bring full telecommunications back, and Energex are doing to try and get power back to the home, we did a lot of work to make sure that those things were pre-positioned, and we've made those systems in place. And I do think that people will see the benefit of that in the days ahead.
Premier, thank you so much for your time. Well, to the Gold Coast now, and a lucky escape. A family of 4 survived the storm, but now has to rebuild the home they'd only just bought 5 months ago.
We got hit big time. The tree fell over and is in the house.
In just a matter of minutes, half of Daniel Spindler's home was destroyed.
We need a new roof.
The father of 2 and his wife had been asleep when they got up to check their Reedy Creek house for damage.
So I got up and I walked out to the lounge room, and then crack.
The couple were incredibly lucky to avoid tragedy.
When we went back to the room, there was huge shards of glass in the bed. The tree had basically come over the house, and branches had compressed the window and shattered the window in across the queen bed.
It wasn't just Daniel's 2 young children inside. The family had a 15-year-old international exchange student sleeping upstairs. It would have been a terrifying experience for her, but she slept through the entire ordeal. While the family are counting their lucky stars, they're now mentally preparing for the long road to recovery.
1 minute we're kind of like, thankful that we're here. Another minute we've got this, we don't have a house to live in.
Severe winds and heavy rain whipped up by ex-tropical Cyclone Alfred battered the Gold Coast region, uprooting trees and bringing down power lines.
There was substantial damage to some residential properties, and at Labrador, 25 people had to be evacuated.
Almost 140,000 homes on the Gold Coast are still without power. Paulette Smits is one of them.
And we thought we got away with it, and then we lost power from 9.
Their home was badly damaged in the Christmas tornado of 2023 and lost power for 7 days.
We just were always playing Monopoly, playing games, playing stories, and it was just felt like how families describe the 80s.
This time round, the family made sure they were prepared.
We've got a generator now and we've got a backup plan. We have got bags packed. We had windows reinforced. We have got a whole bunch of perishables and non-perishables stocked. We had our emergency kit ready to go.
This Pimpamar house is currently home to 7, with friends staying while their place is renovated. The power went out more than 24 hours ago.
We've been advised it could be 3 days to 2 weeks before the power could be reconnected.
And Mackenzie Colohan joins us now live from Broadbeach. Mackenzie, challenging days ahead for those without electricity.
Definitely, Jess. There's still around 140,000 people across the Gold Coast without power tonight. Traffic lights are down across the city, which has been causing chaos on the roads, and phone reception is still very patchy and hard to come by. The good news, though, is that Energex crews have been given the all clear this morning to get back on the roads. I just checked in with Energex a short time ago. They told me that today was mainly about damage assessments. Tomorrow is when they're going to be out in force and getting really stuck in. The safety concern for their crews was the wind. They assure me that they work in the rain. No matter how heavy the rain gets over the next couple of days, they will be out around the clock. So shout out to Energex. But they are urging patience. They said that because the damage is so extensive, it's going to be days and days until they can reconnect everybody. We did see very long lines at the few servos that were open on the Gold Coast today, with people trying to fill up jerry cans to power generators. A reminder though, if you are running a generator, you do have to keep it outside. It is tricky to find a dry spot for it, but a family of 4 in Mudgeeraba had to be rushed to hospital in the middle of the night with carbon monoxide poisoning because they had been running their generator inside. Thankfully, they're going to be okay, but that was a very close call. We have seen though so many trees down right across the city today. Some of them have been splintered. Most though have just been completely uprooted. They've come down on houses, they've come down across roads, on cars, on power lines. And in particular, we've seen many of the big iconic Norfolk pines that line our beaches come down and popped out of the ground. Because the ground is so wet, the soil is so sandy and their root base is so shallow, they've just been completely toppled over. And for every one tree that we've seen down, I reckon there's about 3 or 4 that are hanging on by a thread, Jess. Some of them are bending like a banana. Others are leaning at about a 45-degree angle. And I think even if they do survive this storm, many will have to be cut down, which will upset a lot of Gold Coast residents because some of those trees are almost 100 years old. Now, even though this shelter-in-place order has been lifted, that is an important consideration if people are out and about over the next few days. Even though the worst of the wind is behind us, you do need to keep your eyes open and be careful where you park your car because definitely there will be plenty more trees coming down.
Mackenzie, thank you. Yeah, important reminders there. Well, the Sunshine Coast is bracing for the possibility of heavy rain tonight. The Mayor is urging residents to continue to heed the warnings.
Chris Gaff's pride and joy, smashed on the rocks.
I'm distraught, mate. I'm just about to burst into tears, tell you now. Been crying all morning.
The boat moored at Bribie Island suffered a battering. Ex-tropical cyclone Alfred dealt a large blow, but could have been worse.
Been a bit of a fizzer compared to what we were expecting. That's a good thing, I suppose.
We've got a lot of wind. Now, we're out of power today, but we did all right.
Strong winds continued as the tropical low hung around.
The worst for the Sunshine Coast lies ahead with the rainfall that is coming our way.
Up to 200 millimetres could fall overnight.
So what I do say to people is keep their preparations in place.
But Noosa should be spared.
The rainfall is predicted to be a lot less than what we've just heard, 30 to 100 mil.
Beaches have been stripped. Onlookers took in the new landscape at Twin Waters. Families who spent an anxious night with little ones were keen for fresh air.
We were going to take the mattress into the lounge room last night and just kind of have a movie night in the lounge room, but again, it didn't quite pick up enough where we got to that point.
A nearby coffee shop took a punt and opened its doors.
We were not expecting it to be so busy, but everyone else closed.
Customers keen for a caffeine hit after a long night.
I try and keep up to date with just like what's going on, but I don't know, I feel like the surf's pumping, the sun's out, it's all good, so. Yeah.
Here at Golden Beach, residents are relieved ex-tropical Cyclone Alfred didn't deliver the gale force winds they were threatened. The community on the ocean's edge will continue to watch the tides over the coming days, and their sandbags remain at the ready.
Now for waiting game round 2. Lucy Loram, ABC News, Sunshine Coast.